This is a rotating cube, dimensionally extruded and created as a single block of animation. It's upside down right now from what I had planned it to be. This is the bottom of the cube. If you were to flip it over and reverse it, it wants to kind of look like that. Now these parts and pieces are made out of a mold that I constructed out of Sculpey pieces that then I cast in silicone and then poured each of these as colors. Again, this is done by hand. It was not done by any stereolithography, which is probably the smart way to do it, because this could be figured out in a computer now, and mold shapes could be made from that extrusions. But no, I tried to figure out what a rotating box would look like just by out of my brain, and what I wanted to show you was the way these pieces go together. So they have these cupped finishes where the bottom part rolls off. It's like the bottom part rolls off while the top part goes up to a peak. These parts go up as high as they can, really thin toward the edges, while this part hangs in there really thin, leaving a little bit of a piece as it disappears on each rotation. From the top you can tell it gets thinner and thicker and thinner and thicker as each part twists over and over. Part of how I figured it out was you run a knife over each section to try to get it as straight as possible. As you do it by hand, you're trying to use what is ultimately a pencil. You could use a pencil to roll across it, and you're trying to straighten these out as you sweep through the rotating lines. You want to make them as straight as possible, and that's the hardest part, because clay is very blobby and morphic, and getting a box to sort of feel like a box requires a lot of hard edges, and these edges become thick and thin and thick and thin as it goes from a diamond shape to a square to a diamond shape. Alright. Each piece of the box, as it's rotating in a certain direction, fits together. Often I like to put a little bit of black between these parts to help define them, so you can see the separation even better. I'm not going to do that because of time. I'm just going to lay in these parts as they are. This is the flat piece. So here, let me go back this way. You can tell. There's the flat piece. This has got to be... one thing you want to do is figure out your colors, because as this twists away, it disappears completely because it's on the backside, but it reappears right here. I actually think these are reversed. You have to kind of get them exactly right, because again, this was done by hand. See, that lines up a lot better with this edge right there. Done by hand, and so you're doing your best to redo it by hand each time, because the parts are unique to every part of this yellow part needs to disappear for a gap of time before it comes back on that rotate. Same thing with the blue. It needs to appear and disappear. The next biggest thing about finishing this to be animatable would be to put a little put a base below it, so it I'm going to use this pretty blue. Usually I would use no, let's do it in white. That's a great color, because it's white. The white, what I'm looking for is the color that disappears the most, that is the least visible as it rotates. What I'm trying to make now is the negative shape that supports this block as it's being cut. This negative color as an all strata cut is really important, because Strata Cut's very gravity heavy, very gravity bound, and as you push down on these delicately, slightly soft shapes, they'll start to distort. And so squaring up the box, in a sense flattening out this very bumpy bottom in a way where I can flip this block over and start to put pressure on it with a knife from the top. Doing that is actually what this negative shape is all about. I'm choosing white because this is a white background. It's just whatever color disappears the most that doesn't get in the way of understanding the visibility. I like to create pattern and shape as well as chaos and clarity in everything Strata Cut. This, unfortunately, is clarity and shape with no pattern and no chaos right now. So there you go. Now it's a sturdy enough base that I can start to cut it up, and even though it's a little bumpy right now and not actually aligned, it's close enough. If I were to, that's a little better. I'm going to get it a little finer. I'm compacting it down so all the oily parts of the clay actually sort of glue together a little more tightly. And then as I cut a slice, I try to cut maybe 1/10 of an inch each frame. You can see this is a box shape. It's got a little bit of roundedness on certain corners. It's just part of the game. You can't really get rid of that stuff. And this is all clarity and shape. What would be nice would be to throw texture around it and other kinds of chaos around it. Maybe sculpt some of these pieces out of more textured clay and allow more of the fun of what's natural to the clay, which is the patterning, either random or precise, to go through the block. And that way the clarity of the box is complemented by the chaos of these other patterns. If you can consciously control them, all the much better. But even if you're random with them, it's sort of a nice way to add some life to what otherwise is. This would be just a sort of precise exercise, which is what it is right now, just to show you a clear skeleton on which shape can be animated. This is a rotating shape going down through space. So again, putting a little randomness with your predictability is always more fun than just having it be all predictable. So that's very predictable, but it's also a very complicated shape, and it's good to show it in simple colors because then it makes it easier for you to understand.